when you talk about our tobacco, it comes from two places in the world. That's one of the biggest things that we try to tell all the consumers, because not everybody knows how big of a tobacco producer Italy is. So when we talk about Toscano tobacco and Italian tobacco, people are like, we had no idea that the Italian peninsula even produced tobacco. 70% of our tobacco comes from Italy in 5 regions: Veneto, Umbria, Toscana, Lazio, and Campania. And then the other 30% is from Tennessee.
Can you say those Italian places again?
Yes. Veneto, Umbria, Toscana, Lazio, and Campania.
Okay.
The 5 regions in Italy from top to bottom when you look at the peninsula itself.
I prefer Campania.
You like Campania?
Mm-hmm.
You've been? Yeah. So we have 2 factories. One is in Campania, where we make all of the short format cigars. And then the other factory is in Lucca, where we make all the hand rolls and the long format cigars. Okay. What's neat about the Campania, the Cava di Terreni factory, is whatever their whatever aromatization they're doing that week, the town smells like it.
Oh,
So like you can pull into Cava and start to smell the chocolate. It's amazing. It's absolutely
That would be
awesome.
so cool.
Yeah,
That's
great.
great.
Yeah, and they give tours of both the Lucca and the Cava factory, so you could go see both. So the fire cure process is different in Italy and the United States because we use 2 different types of wood. In Italy, it's oak wood, so it's a lot creamier, a lot lighter, a little bit more white pepper compared to black and heavy spice. In contrast, in the United States, it's hickory, so it's a real dark mesquite, barbecue, black pepper, molasses sensation on the tobacco. All of our tobacco from Italy and the U.S. is water fermented, so we literally submerge our tobacco leaves in water, pick them up, drip dry them, keep doing that till it gets to the right fermentation level and ammonia level.
Interesting.
And then they fire cure the tobacco. Okay, so the fire cure actually kind of locks in the nutrients and oils that need to be humidified, which is why you don't need to humidify Toscano as much as you do other cigars. 90% of our line anyway. The master aging, especially the Brenta, that's a whole thing that I'll get into. But they're 2 different beasts also. So we have 40 female cigar rollers. I talk about this to everybody because I think, to me, it's phenomenal. Each of our 40 female cigar rollers per day per roller rolls 520 cigars by hand. Last year we sold 246 million cigars. But each cigar, even though they all look the same, and I know that you guys know this, but each cigar is a different blend completely. And the more you smoke them, the more you're going to start to realize the differential in the flavor profiles, okay? So we'll go left to right now. The Classico is all Italian tobacco from Valteverina, Toscana. So it's a medium-bodied cigar. Really light, nice white pepper on the retro, a little bit of like almost a honey sensation because of the oak wood. So this is one of the most popular cigars that we have in the entire blend.
That's my favorite.
The next would be the Toscano Antico. The Toscano Antico is an American wrapper with a mixture of 70-30 Italian to American filler. It's a more full-bodied cigar. It's the same cigar Clint Eastwood smoked in the Spaghetti Westerns, which I know is a big selling point for a lot of people. That's the #1 long format selling pretty much across the world. Now, in the United States, Brenta and the Master H4 are really climbing the ladder, but that's just in the United States. Those cigars are solely for the U.S. market. So, the Extra Vecchio is an interesting cigar because this tobacco, it's Italian tobacco. So when we talk about body of our cigars, the more American tobacco in it, the more full body it's going to be usually because of the hickory fire cure compared to the oak. However, the Extra Vecchio tobacco comes from Ponte Corvo in Lazio, and the soil there produces a much more nicotine front tobacco leaf. So it's actually one of the more full-bodied cigars that come out of the Italian peninsula, which is why if you look at the Classico and the Garibaldi, they're aged for 6 months, whereas the Extra Vecchio is aged for 9 to kind of nullify that nicotine, the power of the nicotine on the body in itself. A really flavorful smoke, really nice notes of different spices, peppers, a little bit of clove. That's actually becoming a very popular stick in our 5-packs, to be honest. My favorite cigar, again outside of the Brenta, is the Toscano Garibaldi. The Toscano Garibaldi is all Southern Italian tobacco from Benevento, which is in Campania. It's a lot lighter and almost sweeter in flavor because the fields lie within the shadow of Mount Vesuvius. So after the eruption in 79 AD, it actually changed the soil composition, which the nutrients and the acidity in the soil actually makes the tobacco a little bit sweeter and a little bit lighter in comparison to the rest of the Italian tobacco. Then you go down to the Toscanellos. One of the biggest things that you're going to want to make sure you consistently push to the consumer is that they're not flavored. They're aromatic. And there's a difference. So flavored cigars are usually dipped, sprayed, etc. Every cigar has its place in the market. I'm not saying what's better. I mean, obviously I think Toscano because I'm the national brand ambassador, but outside of my bias, like really every cigar has its place in the market. We just do things differently. So essentially what you have when you talk about the anice, the cioccolato, the vanilla, and the cafe, you have a wrapper that's just fire cured with oak. It's the filler tobacco that is aromatized, if you will. So what we do is after the fire cure is finished, in the barrels in southern Italy in Cava di Terreni, we add in actual coffee bean, actual vanilla bean, actual chocolate bean, into big barrels with the wet tobacco. And we rotate that for anywhere from 10 to 16 days until the tobacco by nose, by our master blenders, has absorbed enough of the aroma to be used for our filler tobacco. The filler tobacco is then wrapped with, just like I said, an oak fire-cured wrapper, which is why when you smoke it, it smells a lot more like what it tastes like, if that makes sense, but the smoke itself kind of encapsulates you in, for example, the aroma cioccolato, rich chocolate, and on the retrohale cherry, okay? It smokes like pipe tobacco. It's a big, that's why with pipe smokers, these are huge. They're light. They're 25-minute smokes, so they're great for coffee breaks, they're great for cold weather, but they're also an awesome alternative to a pipe. Instead of fiddling with the pipe tobacco in your car and making your car a mess, just take a Toscanello out of the glove box. And that's why Toscanello is so popular. A little bit different would be the hazelnut raffinato and the rosso cafe macchiato. The only difference is on the wrapper of those two particular cigars, there's a little bit of brown sugar. So that's one of the only cigars that when you put it in your mouth, you're gonna taste the actual aroma, because there's that brown sugar adds a little bit of sweetness to the cigar. It's awesome. And you know what, I laugh because sadly in this industry everybody's like, oh, flavored aromatic cigars, they're for women. I love them. I smoke these in the morning with my coffee. They go great with espresso, great with coffee. Absolutely, they're fantastic. And my wife, who is not a cigar smoker and isn't particularly fond of cigar smoke, when I smoke those, she'll stay in my cigar lounge with me because she likes the aroma of them themselves. So that, it's a good selling point for first-time smokers too. For people who are just getting into it, obviously it does push to the female demographic a bit, but more and more men are starting to smoke it because they realize it's not what they think it is. Okay, so this is a good opportunity to get people latched on to Toscano. Okay. Any questions about any of these blends? It's pretty straightforward. So the only thing that I would say to make it easier for you guys in here is maybe just put the Garibaldi, the Classico, the Extra Vecchio, the Extra Vecchio and the Antico. That would be just so that it's in line from light to full.
That's good.
Okay, and then everything else is fine. Everything else is good. You don't have to worry about any of that. I like that you separated these two because they have similar packaging, but they're different. Right. So it's nice that you did that. So you're already ahead of me there. So are the master aged in here? We'll go in there. A couple box cigars, which is really nice. So as Toscano continues to grow, in all honesty, you're going to start seeing more of this type of display. So for example, we're releasing the Master Age number 5 at PCA. It's going to be the same kind of box as this. It just sits right next to it. Okay, so we're looking to have eventually 6, 7, 8 different SKUs of the Master Age blends. We're actually going to go through, we're thinking about changing it from numbers to actual, like, the Toscano, I don't know yet, I'm still working on what I'm going to call them, but we're going to call them different names, and we're going to actually color coordinate them. So instead of having them all copper, one will be silver, one will be gold, one will be platinum, one will be a different, like a light blue or something. So then people can differentiate not just from the number, because they all look the same. So you got to have a little bit of a differential, right? So the Master Ages, the Italia, the Originale, the 200, I like to keep these type of cigars in the humidor, okay? Because to me, Toscano has two sides. It has the everyday, outdoors, biker, fisher, hunter side, which is to me the 5-packs. Then there's the more elegant, the more refined side of Toscano, which is what you have in here. Okay, both are phenomenal, and if you could interchange both, but this is how I foresee our brand.
That's how I see it too, actually.
That's
So, works out well.
There you go, perfect. So when we talk about the master aged, we made this as simple as possible as we could for you guys and for the consumer. By, if you look at this right here, it tells you the composition, where the wrapper's from, where the filler's from, based on the country of origin. Okay. We also, put it in lightest to fullest body. So if you remember, with the 5-packs, the more Italian tobacco, 99% of the time, the lighter the cigar. So that's why the number 1 is mostly Italian tobacco. Italian wrapper with the 50-50 mixture of Italian and American fill. Okay. Light-bodied cigar, really nice. Again, this, the Garibaldi, the Classico, those are the ones to get people to introduce Toscano to. Okay, that's the ones that you want, because you don't want to give them a number 4 or an Antico at first, because that's a shock to the palate because of the full body flavor profile.
So the Classico,
The Garibaldi,
Garibaldi,
the Master H number
and the
1, even the Italia I call Garibaldi on steroids. Now we're done. This is over. There's no more Italia.
What?
Sold out of it. Gone for now.
Oh, okay.
For now. Let's see. Right now, we're working on ensuring that the Brenta continues, because the Brenta is flying off our shelves.
The Italia is my very favorite cigar you guys made.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Mine too. Which is why I'm fighting very hard to try to make sure that my idea was, we're getting a little bit off topic from the training, but my idea is, every 2 years to release another blend of the Italia, maybe with a little bit of a thicker ring gauge, the next one. So the first box was green, the next one should be white, the last one should be red. For the Italian
cool.
flag. That's kind of what I'm trying to get them to look at for me. So anyway, the number 2 is an American wrapper with Italian and American fill, so it's a step up from the number 1. The number 3 is the Americano, or the All-American tobacco. And then the number 4, the same blend as the number 1, Italian wrapper with a 50-50 mixture of Italian and American fill. However, it's got a larger ring gauge, it's larger at the ends, which really opens the smoke. And we micro-ferment the wrapper on the number 4. So the number 4 is the most refined of all 4 of the blends. Micro-fermentation is rapidly fermenting the tobacco at a high temperature. So what that does is nullify that, that high octane cigar and brings it back down to earth a little bit, if that makes sense. That's the micro-fermentation. It nullifies the body of it. The number 4. It's a bigger ring gauge, so if you look compared to...
yeah,
See
sure.
it?
Yeah. Okay.
And it's a darker, because it's
And it's
fermented
open.
longer too. Yes, much
Darker
more open.
format.
Yep.
Okay.
The Italia, like I said, is pretty much the Garibaldi on steroids. It's a little bit thicker than the Garibaldi, and it's all Southern Italian tobacco from Benevento, which is why it's one of my favorites. The Originale, this is the very first blend of Toscano ever rolled in 1815. So it's got American tobacco with 70-30 tip, similar to the Antico, 70-30 American to Italian. However, it's much wider. It's a much wider ring gauge than the Antico. If you get one, it's almost double the size. So again, this one's it opens up. It really gives a much more full-bodied hickory sensation to the cigar. Okay. The Duecento, we still have in stock. This is another one of my favorites, and they're trying to get rid of it, and I'm fighting them tooth and nail not to, because I love that cigar.
That's a good cigar.
This is the largest that we have that we give to all accounts. It's almost 8 inches long. With a 56 ring gauge. So when you look at this, a 46, not a 56. The 56 is going to be the number 5. When you look at this cigar, this is about a 2-hour smoke. Mm-hmm. This is your really nice end of the night, enjoy it with good wine, good company, etc. cigar. 100%. This is my go-to when I'm done with my day, if I'm smoking multiple cigars a day. The other great thing about all the long formats, every long format that we have, you can cut in half and share with somebody. And also the other reason to cut a Toscano cigar in half is because the middle of the cigar provides you with the most full body flavor of that particular stick, regardless of what cigar you're smoking from our portfolio. Mm-hmm. So a lot of Toscano aficionados cut it in half so they get the full body sensation right from the first puff. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people that smoke multiple Toscanos do it that way. Mm-hmm. I like the whole cigar sensation, to be honest with you. I like starting off a little bit easier, getting into the crux, and then having it cool down a little bit too, because our cigars do not burn hot.
No.
Because of the rolling. It's a Cigar ripieno, as we say in Italian, so it's a very tightly rolled full tobacco cigar. So you don't have, it burns very evenly, so you're not gonna really, lose much of the tobacco, or much, you can actually smoke it down to a nub, and it's still not gonna, the only thing that will get burned is your lip because you're too close. It doesn't get hot. So But I mean, other than that, that's the 3,000 foot view of Toscano, and that's, you know, it's all about our history. You know, when you think about Sigaro Toscano, there's not another cigar company in the world that's as old as us. 1815 was the very first cigar we ever rolled. These cigars are resilient. They went through 2 world wars. Our factory was bombed in both world wars, or right around the factory, because Sigaro Toscano is such a big economic boost for the Italian peninsula. So you have to think of it that way. It's literally one of the only cigars that survived both world wars. The story behind cutting the cigar in half initiated with, 2 reasons. Number one, Garibaldi, who has his own cigar, met with Vittorio Emanuele III in the middle of the country. They cut that blend of Toscano in half, smoked it together, and they unified the Italian peninsula that day in 1865. And when you look at any of our other blends, anything when we talk about the passion, the love, the care that goes in from seed to shelf, it's really something that resonates with the consumer. We look crappy in the sense that, you know, our cigar does not look, we don't have binders on a lot of them, it's not perfectly rolled, but that's also part of the uniqueness of what is Sigaro Toscano.